Hoister up, crew. Today we are going to do the oil change, the initial oil change on Freedom Wind. This is a 5411 universal diesel right here. The O'Days make it nice and easy to get to. The front panel comes off. We got our lid that we got to fix strapped up here. Hinges are pulling out. I'll put some glue in there. That's going to hold for now. So the first thing I'm going to do is make sure I can get this loose. I don't have a filter wrench on me, but we do have a sail tie and a wrench. We should be able to get that to come loose, and once I loosen it up, I'll tighten it back up and we'll warm up the engine, and then we'll go ahead and suck out the oil. Way back in there, I got our vacuum back there to do that. All we need to do, wrap this around a few times. Okay, so during the process, my camera turned off. Looks like I ran out of battery. Essentially, you take the strap, we go around several times, and I was able to break it loose. It was extremely tight. Looks like it's probably been on there for a while. I'd say 2 or 3 wraps. Maybe 3 or 4, depending on how slick your filter is. I think if your filter is really slick, you could probably put on some of that rubber self-adhesive tape just to give it a little bit more grip. You probably should have that on your boat regardless. It's the same as like rigging tape, stuff like that. So once I got several wraps around the filter and it was still slipping, and I tried the little pair of pliers, that wasn't enough leverage because it was that tight. I took a crescent wrench, looped it, and then I would take that another wrap around it. So, and then I took it and wrapped it around the top of the wrench and just cinched it all tight. And that still wasn't enough, so I took it sideways. You see how it's binding? If you had 2 crescent wrenches, this would be a little easier. And I cinch it. It popped off there, but it's not something you want to do normally. So try to make sure you don't forget your filter wrench, or leave one on the boat even. They're really not that much money. And you see how it's turning? And then I grabbed pliers, and then I was able to twist that off. And found out it's a Toyota filter. Once it's loose, just really lightly hand tighten it. Start your motor, get it warm, and then we can suck it out. To suck this out, we're going to use this liquid vac that I have. I used it to drain the gas tank when it came out. Essentially, after the motor's warm, we're going to run this down the tube. I guess it's not going to fit all the way, but as long as it's tight, I'll make a nice seal. Put this here, create a vacuum. It will store all the old oil into this tank. I'll bring it home and drain it. Once we get this completed, I'd like to do the transmission back there. Okay, we got the motor warmed up. We got our liquid vac connected to our dipstick tube. Fits pretty tight in there. Tight in here. This is 5/16 ID vinyl tube. Fits in there very nice. Now our camera here should see that oil suck up through the tube. Close this off and pump, create a vacuum. Not really happy with this thing. I think it's cheap. Should be off, but I found this thing, because it comes apart too easily, is to hold the back here while you pump. So if you pull too far, this cap doesn't pop off and oil doesn't go everywhere, because I've had that happen. It's always good to take off the cap for the fill. This allows it to move that oil through quicker. Come on. Do I recommend this? No, this thing's a piece of junk. Liquid vac. Piece of junk. Luckily, I bought it off someone else who didn't really like it, so I didn't spend that much money on it. But these things are pretty expensive for how shitty they are. We'll tie the video off, see if we can't figure this junk out. Alright, so I figured it out. Looks like the valve wasn't opening up here. Sucking the oil out. Do this a couple more times to get all the oil out, and then we'll kick back in and take out the filter. All right, get your little drip tray, custom made. It's a gallon bottle. And you just fit that right here. Little slit for the belt right there. Keeps it held up. And you loosen it up pretty good. Just gonna twist the filter off. That drained for a little bit. Looks like we're catching the oil. That's good. At least most of it. And we got some oil mats down there to suck up any extra oil, and we'll clean out the bilge, any dripping. You want to clean that out. You don't want it to go out the boat. So you can buy these oil mats, and they make special ones. The ones I got are white, so the gray standard ones, and they only absorb oil, not water. So Starbright makes them, Big Mat makes them. You throw them in your bilge, the water won't get sucked up, but any oil that comes through will. That's disposed of. Get a rag. Clean up this flange here. Remember, when you put on the new one, you don't need to jam it down. Usually it's about 3/4 to 1 1/4 revolutions after the filter lightly seats. That's it. And that is usually stamped on the filter somewhere. We got our CarQuest number, 85374. And you'll see clean, oil the gasket, put it onto a barely seats right there. You're going to turn an additional 3/4 to 1 turn. That's it. Another way. I think we did pretty good here. Maybe a little bit fell down. We'll clean that up. We'll clean that up later after we do the transmission fluid change. And it's always good to mark the filter install date. If you have an hour gauge, even better. Install the hours on the filter. Put your date on. Screw it on till it touches. And there's our CarQuest logo. And we're going to do 3/4 to 1 turn. There we are. We just got to put the oil in it now. So we have finished filling up the oil. It is slightly above the full mark. That's okay because we're going to run the engine. It's going to fill up this filter. I'm going to crank the engine over for a little bit longer than I normally would by not turning on the glow plugs. Being the engine's still kind of warm, it's probably going to fire pretty quick. We just need to put our top fill cap on. That's on. We're going to start the engine. So we've ran the engine. We'll give it a little bit of time to drain all the oil from the valve train back down into the crankcase. Clean rag. You can see we're right about the 5. So I need to add a little bit of oil. Got our funnels cut down a little bit. Grab our oil. Just put a little bit in at a time. And we check the dipstick. So now we're above the 0. We're going to put another splash in. Now the book has it at 2.2 quarts. I would normally just throw 2 in, start it, and see where you're at, just in case there's still some in the crankcase. You don't want to overfill it. So I'll put 2 in and then adjust as needed to get it to our full mark. And we are right at the mark. And it took about 2.2 quarts. Here's our Rotella jug, and we're just under that 2-quart mark. At this point, you just need to clean up any mess you made. If anything lit on the side of the engine, on top of the engine when you're filling it. Over here, clean down into the motor cradle. Because you don't want that all that extra oil that could have fell in to get mixed in with your bilge. So this concludes the oil change on our O-Day 28 with the 5411 Universal Diesel. If you like this content, please hit the like button below, subscribe. We'll try to get more content out. Now that the boat's on the water, you'll actually see some real sailing. Hope so. See you next time, crew.